Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal News. Tonight's article comes from livescience.com, and the headline is Alien Like Skulls Excavated in Mexico. It was written by Charles Q. Choi, and it was published December 20th, 2012. So, this is a rather old article. Human skulls, deliberately warped into strange alien like shapes, have been unearthed in a 1,000-year-old cemetery in Mexico, researchers say. The practice of deforming skulls of children as they grew was common in Central America, and these findings suggest the tradition spread further north than had been thought, scientists added. The cemetery was discovered by residents of the small Mexican village of Anavas in 1999 as they were building an irrigation canal. It is the first pre-Hispanic cemetery found in the northern Mexican state of Sonora. The site, referred to as El Cementerio, contained the remains of 25 human burials. 13 of them had deformed skulls, which were elongate and pointy at the back, and 5 had mutilated teeth. Dental mutilation involves filing or grinding teeth into odd shapes, while cranial deformation involves distorting the normal growth of a child's skull by applying force. For example, by using cloths to bind wooden boards against their heads. That is absolutely horrible. Why the hell would you do that to a child? That is just messed up. Cranial deformation has been used by different societies in the world as a ritual practice, or for distinction of status within a group, or to distinguish between social groups, said researcher Cristina Garcia Moreno, an archaeologist at Arizona State University. The reason why these individuals at El Cementerio deformed their skulls is still unknown. The most common comment I've read from people that see the pictures of cranial deformation has been that they think that these people were aliens, Garcia added. I could say that some say that is a joke, but the interesting thing is that some do think so. Obviously, we are talking about human beings, not of aliens. Of the 25 burials, 17 were children between 5 months and 16 years of age. The high number of children seen at the site could suggest inept cranial deformation killed them due to excessive force against the skull. The children had no signs of disease that caused their deaths. That is just god-awful. Although cranial deformation and dental mutilation were common features among the pre-Hispanic populations of Mesoamerica and western Mexico, scientists had not seen either practice in Sonora or the American Southwest, which share a common pre-Hispanic culture. The researchers suggest the people at El Cementerio had been influenced by recent migrants from the South. The most important implication would be to extend the northern boundary of the Mesoamerican influence, Garcia told Live Science. A number of skeletons also were found with earrings, nose rings, bracelets, pendants, and necklaces made from seashells and snails from the Gulf of California. One person was buried with a turtle shell on the chest. It remains uncertain why some of these people were buried with ornaments, while others were not, or another mystery, why only one of the 25 skeletons was female. During the next field season, the researchers aim to determine the cemetery's total size and hope to find more burials to get a clearer idea of the society's burial customs. With new information, we also hope to determine whether there was any interaction between these and Mesoamerican societies, how it was and when it happened, they said. Garcia and her colleagues completed their analysis of the skeletal remains in November. They plan to submit their research to either the Journal American Antiquity or the Journal Latin American Antiquity. And that is the end of this article. So this one to me was interesting because, yes, it's from 2012. But when you look at this picture of the human with the cranial deformation, it totally looks like an alien head. I mean, I'm not kidding you. It looks like an alien. Now, they're saying that 100% is human and that it was done by them deforming the head. But it looks like an alien. Now, the reason I say that's interesting to me and is a cool kind of thing is because a lot of times you will see these kind of pictures shared on Facebook, on Twitter, stuff like that. And the people will be making claims that they dug up aliens. And here we see that this exact skull shape is actually very common of the people of those times because they did this as a normal thing to kids. So in a way it's kind of busting that myth that a lot of these pictures you see that people show of quote unquote aliens were actually of aliens. Very well could be that they were just of human beings that went through this process. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the process itself because this blows me away. Now, first of all, we'll talk about the cranial deformation. This is done by like tying rags to boards and then like twisting them around the kid's head to narrow the and elongate the skull. That is absolutely crazy. I mean, this would have to be done over a long period of time as well. This isn't something that they just like did it once and then okay, you're done. I mean, this has to be applied. It's like if you've ever made like custom stair rails or anything like that where you have to put it into a mold. Essentially, what you're doing is you're taking thin sheets of wood and you are putting them into a mold, a jig that you set up on the floor. And you make it whatever shape you want. And then what you do is you take this thin piece of board and you get it wet. And then because when you get it wet, it'll be more malleable and move better. And then you will fit it into this mold that you've made, this jig that you've made. And you start off with a little bit of a bend. And then you let it sit there overnight. And then you come back the next day and you move it a little bit more. You get it wet again, you move it just a tiny bit more, and you let it sit again overnight. And what happens is as that wood dries, it dries into that shape. And you do this repeatedly, little by little, over however long it takes to get to the final shape you want. Once you reach that final shape and it dries again and it's stuck that way, then you can take it out of your jigs and what you'll have is a bent piece of wood. Now they do that to do like the custom chair rails that will go down and spiral and stuff like that. And they make like power jams out of it to hold up stairs. They do all kinds of stuff where that comes into play. And the reason I brought all that up is because that's essentially the same process that they would be going through with these kids. They would be taking these boards and putting them on either side of the kid's head. And then they would be twisting a piece of cloth, almost like a vise, and applying pressure to the skull to force it to get narrower and to start to bulge at the back. And this would be done a little bitty bit at a time. You couldn't do it too much at a time because you'd just burst the skull and crush the brain and then the kid would die. So you have to do it a little tiny bit at a time. So imagine weeks or months of this. Imagine the headaches, the pain and suffering that that child would have to go through. That is just next level crazy. I don't know why the hell they would do that. And then the other part of this that they said they found was dental mutilation as well, where they were filing and grinding the teeth. Now, keep in mind, this was a time period before Novocaine. So it's not like you could just get a shot and numb everything up. You feel this as it's happening. The chipping and the grinding and the filing of the teeth. Imagine how bad that hurt. Unbelievable. So that's basically all I have to say about this. I just wanted to bring this to you because this one, it poo-poos the theory that people are digging up alien bodies, and it kind of explains it, gives you a rational explanation for what those are. And also, I just want to talk about the cranial deformation and the dental mutilation. Those things are absolutely crazy, and I don't know why you would do that to a kid. I mean, I understand that it was their culture and they did it as a status symbol and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's crazy. And I think the exact same thing of those people over in Africa that put all them rings on their neck to make their necks all long. I mean, that's nuts too, because they can't even survive anymore without the damn rings. You take them off and their windpipe collapses and they die. Or the people that put the big plates in their damn lips, or the big old things in their ears. It's weird, man. Maybe I'm old fashioned. It's weird, and you find that is real popular among the young now. You know, the kids today are doing a lot of that stretching of their ears and stuff. They call it, I think, gauging their ears, and some of them they're just big old things. And when they take the plug or the earring or whatever the hell you call it out, they got this big floppy bit of skin that's hanging with this big old hole. It's rather disturbing. I don't get that. I don't. Now, granted, I'm an older guy. You know, during my time, if you had a tattoo, that was considered taboo. If you really wanted to shock people, you would get an earring, one earring. If you were a guy, and oh man, that was the most shocking thing you ever could do. They weren't quite sure if you were gay or if you were like crazy, or one thing was sure, you were a rebel or something like that. It was kind of really taboo to do those things back when I was coming up. Nowadays, I mean, everybody has tattoos and 100 piercings, and they're doing all kinds of weird stuff, putting piercings underneath their skin and all kinds of stuff. I don't know. It's just weird. Uh, Let me know down in the comments what you think. I'm sure one of the things you think is that I'm an old fuddy-duddy or whatever, that I don't get uh, the kids today and all that. And that you're right. You're absolutely right. I don't understand it at all. To me, it makes absolutely no sense. I'm not saying they're stupid for doing it. Don't misunderstand, because when I was coming up, I did have an earring. I did have a nose ring. I did get tattoos. I had hair down to my waist. I was a little badass too. I was a rebel too. I like to do things for shock value when I was a kid. And I understand that's the same thing they're doing now. It's for shock value and because they think it's cool and it's a fashion thing. I get it. I just don't understand why you would go to that extreme. To me, that seems crazy. But I'm sure to my parents what I was doing seemed crazy. So there you have it. So anyway, let me know down in the comments what you think. If you think that this is nuts too, of doing this to kids. This is absolutely next level crazy in my mind. But let me know what you think. And as always, it is up to you to decide. And I will catch you on the next one. Until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye bye.